Hey, hello, and welcome to the Global Boxing Network. Prophecy Onassis, Mario Serrano here, and my colleague on the other end, Brendan Gibbons. Today we have Michael Campbell from USA Boxing as our guest. What's going on, everybody, and all the fans and all the good people out there and boxing enthusiasts? We're glad you're enjoying the shows that we've been putting out, and we got a good one for you here today. What's up, Mike?
Coolin'. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate the platform. Thanks for doing what you guys do, putting eyes and ears and attention on the great sport.
It's always a pleasure, and it's always a pleasure working with a lot of amazing people such as yourself coming from USA Boxing. Tell us a little bit of what you do and what's your role over there so everyone would know.
Found USA Boxing around 2007 with the Golden Gloves, and then never looked back. Joined USA Boxing. I was the president of the Gulf LBC down there. I learned boxing from greats like Willie Savannah, Ronnie Shields, Kenny Weldon, and then it just progressed from there. Eventually in 2016, an opportunity arose at the national office, and I've been there ever since, hosting, putting on the national tournaments, as well as advising local operations, helping local events thrive, and just seeing boxers progress and go from the grassroots to the high performance program to the Olympics. So it's been a pleasure. I like to say that I don't work a day at all.
Man, it sounds like you're having a good time down there and you're changing lives and got a good team of people down. Now, you're down there in the Springs, right?
Yeah. Our headquarters and our high performance training center are in Colorado Springs at the Olympic Training Center.
So you work out of the training center, or is it?
So we're in the Sport House, which is downtown, but
Okay.
we're about a mile away from the gym. So it's a pleasure. I get to spend some time seeing our best athletes in the country. And then I also referee and judge a bit too. So they like to pull me in when there's test events and multi-nation camps. I got the pleasure of refereeing Kazakhstan, China, Great Britain, and USA earlier this year. So I'm blessed. I really am blessed.
If I could say
wonderful.
something really quick, you got guys like Andre Ward, Terrence Crawford, Shakur, all these guys trained at these facilities in Colorado Springs. So like I said over here at the GBN, the Global Boxing Network, we got industry people. This is what we're doing. We're separating ourselves as just getting the inside scoop of really what happens in the foundation of the sport of boxing. So again, follow us, like us, subscribe. This is where you're gonna get the raw and uncut interviews with some of the industry leaders. And it starts right here with Mike at the amateur level, at the highest level.
Thanks, Mario. So what's one of the biggest misconceptions about amateur boxing, since you're right up close on it and it's your day-to-day good habit to be around?
So when you compare amateur boxing versus the pros, this is the biggest difference. I like to say that amateur boxing is still a sport. It's scoring, it's about fundamentals, it's about technique and tactics. Whereas the pros is more of a entertainment endeavor. It's about selling yourself, it's about getting fans, it's about selling tickets and bringing it back. So therefore, the knockouts are more glorified. But for boxing aficionados, someone who loves the little nuances of boxing, the elite amateur level is where it's at. That's where you're going to see the best techniques, the best teaching. You see the lineage of boxing as it was taught originally, and building those fundamentals so that way when they do turn pro, they have all the tools at their disposal, and they're ready for the big fights, the knockouts, and looking for those opportunities and those openings. So that's the biggest thing is we're still kind of a sport and judged by certain criteria, whereas the pros is more of a entertainment option, I guess.
It's the grassroots for sure. So what are some of the changes you think that's taking place at the grassroots that's going to propel it in a different state in the future?
Yeah, so the beauty of amateur boxing is at the grassroots level. It's where the coaches who've been taught by their trainers and their coaches in the gyms. I like to say boxing is an apprenticeship. It's handed down. It's not in a class or a book. It's not taught on YouTube, although there's a few endeavors there. But it's taught in the gym from their trainer. That's why all the coaches were boxers, and then they naturally progressed to that point. So that's the beauty of the grassroots. That's where boxing is taking place in America. That's where it's beginning. That's where when a kid walks into the gym and they have a beginner's class, they jump right in. If they're there one day or 1 month, 1 year, or 10, 15 years, they're now hooked on boxing. Boxing is inside of them. They're now a fan for life, an aficionado. And someday, about 1% of our boxers turn pro. Less than that become Olympians. Less than that become world champions. But that person who spent one day or 1 week in the gym is now a boxing fan for life and may become a doctor or a lawyer, and they want to give back to the sport one day. So that's what's beautiful at the grassroots level, is that interaction between the lineage of boxing, the coaches, and then the new talent, the people that walk into the gym.
That's awesome.
And I say Brendan and Prophecy can elaborate on what I'm about to say. We just had Bomac in here, and he told us the very first fighter he ever had was Terrence Crawford. Walked into that gym, and look where that road led.
Yep.
Right.
One of the best fighters ever to walk the planet. And it all started from him just going into the gym.
Yep.
Right?
And big shout out to B&B Boxing there in Omaha.
Yeah.
They do a great job, and they're one of the biggest gyms in that area, the amateur program. I see BMAC working corners at local shows in
Yeah.
Denver
He's
and all across
a
the
real
Rocky
guy,
Mountain region. Crawford came to our Olympic trials. They understand that that's where they give back. That's where they came out of, and that's what's the beauty of the USA Boxing program. I got to see Terrence Crawford in Olympic trials in Houston in 2007.
Wow.
So see that progression and that give back is the most beautiful part of the sport.
So when you see fighters and they come through the amateur rankings, do you identify and help develop that talent for people who want to know out there? What's that process look like when it comes to being dynamically attached to some of the talent that moves to the pros?
The coach boxer relationship is the most beautiful thing and the foundation of the sport. So no, they're personal coaches who's developed them. They're who picks them up from home. They're the who fundraised. They went through their teen years. They went through their relationships in schooling and maybe getting them out of trouble. They're the ones that have that relationship and teach them. Once they achieve the highest levels, once they win our nationals, once they come to the high performance, yeah, we have a team head coach in high performance, and we have assistant coaches, but they still work with that personal coach, giving them feedback, giving them evaluations. They're still spending most of the year at home with their personal coaches. So they still have to give that feedback and keep that development plan, become a team. So yeah, we identify talent through the tournaments, who the champions are, who to bring in. Maybe I like to give them a little inspiration with some speeches and tell them what path lies ahead for them. But ultimately, their development does happen in the gym at the elite level, but ultimately with their personal coaches as well. And part of that is Billy Walsh, our team head coach, helped create a coach's education program. And so that teaches the personal coaches what's going to be taught at the national level. So therefore they can teach that at the local gym and get them ready. So you see how it all just feeds into the system. So when they come to the high performance training center, Olympic training center, that they're ready for international competition.
Well, you were speaking early off the set here about how boxing influences so many other areas in someone's lives, or an individual's life. Can you go over some of that? Because you've seen it happen.
Yeah.
I thought that was amazing how you gave us that information.
Yeah, we all played multiple sports coming up, and I like to say basketball, football, volleyball, they're wonderful endeavors. They teach camaraderie, physical fitness, teamwork, but boxing is different. When I talk to a city about bringing a boxing tournament there, I'm usually advocating for their community, for their local gyms. I have to convey the message that boxing is changing lives. It's doing the work of community leaders, civic leaders, politicians, pastors, the police department. Boxing keeps kids off the street. Boxing saves lives. After our national tournaments, we put out a feedback survey. And the best compliment I've ever gotten was, thank you, Mike, for putting on this tournament because it keeps our kids engaged and in the gym. And just as simple as putting the national tournament calendar on the wall keeps that kid coming into the gym every week, dedicated, keeps them doing their schoolwork, keeps them out of trouble. And then they get rewarded by the fundraising and benefits of the club, taking them to that national tournament, getting that opportunity to be a national champion. And that's the best thing that I can do. If I can create that platform for those coaches to bring their athletes to thrive, to make a difference in their lives, then we've won. We've achieved the goal of amateur boxing, which is impacting the great sport onto the lives of the youth in creating fans, creating champions, and just keeping the health of the sport alive. I like to say that we didn't invent this sport.
Yeah.
We inherited it. We got lucky.
Yeah.
Right? And we're just at the wheel and steering the ship. It's our responsibility to ensure that what we hand over to our successors is as healthy as we got it from our predecessors and even better.
That's beautiful.
That is.
Now, I want to ask my colleague Brendan, you do a great job here with Prophecy in this building, putting on the Rumble series. Can you just elaborate basically on what he just said and the impact you see with the community cleanup, the kids, whatnot?
Yeah, most definitely. To hit on your point, Mike, being born into boxing and at a level that my dad has already gone through the grassroots level, he's built up everything, he's at a pro level. I was kind of born into like the high level of boxing. And about 2.5 years ago, we opened up a gym that was here in Vegas, the Knuckleheads Boxing Gym. Going to the gym every day and seeing these kids and like to start seeing there's an amateur program and there's not just pros was like different to me. So I'm looking around and looking at the kids like, hey, when's your next fight? They're like, no, there's not really a fight. But I'm like, really, there's not fights. So I'm thinking in my head, like, what can I do for my gym to make this kids fight more? And as I did that with the gym, then I found out these other gyms in Vegas, and there's so many people that would support us that I didn't even know of because they're at an amateur level, but they watch the pros because there's a whole system. And being able to give them a platform to change their lives, to have more fights, keep them in the gym. You see them, like you said, with the coaches, they'll show up, they may be having a bad day, but once you're in that gym, in that environment, you want to have a safe place. You want to have it where it's all a family and, you're not by yourself. You have a team. Even though boxing is individual, you have to get in the ring and fight for yourself. Everything we can do on the outside of that to help you get there, it's a beautiful thing to see. So when we did our first show, we started the Rumble series here. We did the Spring Rumble, and I didn't really know how it was going to go. It's the first kind of amateur. Started to reach out for some gyms, and all of a sudden we just have registration every day. It was just like ding, ding, my email, ding, ding, registration, registration. So after like 200 kids register, I'm like, we should probably do a 2-day event or something. 'Cause I'm like, I want all these kids to fight. They should have a platform. So we did the first show. We had about 27 bouts. We got lucky. People were saying, you have to book more bouts. People are going to not show up, this and that. I'm like, really? But I was doing matchmaking where I was calling up the coach and then calling up the coach, hey, we're going to fight at, 74 pounds. Okay, 74. We agree on the weight and we're good. It's not where you do a match and then the guy comes in, 81 because you're allowed that weight. It was like, no, we're going to fight at this weight. You're going to come. Yep. And if you're a pound maybe or like half a pound, that's fine because it's not the pros and, you should have some leadway. But we weren't given the whole, where it's just a free-for-all. So it was a little more controlled at the amateur level. And so we started to do that, and then now we're just doing shows all the time. And, we have more kids at the gym, more people, and it's a beautiful thing to see. And then we do our, community give-backs with community cleanup, the charity we have every day after that, whether if it's a back to school, if it's turkey drives, whatever the fight day is, we try to make something around it. If it's an Earth Day or whatever it may be, just to help the community and impact through the sport of boxing, because we believe that community cleanup and also knucklehead boxing everywhere, the same fuel and fire that goes into the ring to fight is to fuel cleaner streets, safer kids, safer environments. So it's a beautiful thing to see all the kids and, doing the events. It's great. It's a great thing.
Yeah, what I liked about it is, and when we do it, is I like that we focus, unlike the pros, and they both have their level of fun and interest, but I like that we give the family experience.
Yeah. Definitely.
And that's really important. Like when you do the amateurs, you get the family experience. When you see grandma come,
yeah,
you be like, Grandma, when was the last time you come? And then there was friends that brought, their grandparents, and it got every ethnicity, and you have this wide audience, and you see the fights, and then you're like, man, you start learning. And for me, I started learning like the amateurs it's a very family oriented feel.
Yeah.
And when you see people smiling and the kids happy, and that resonates outside of here. Mm-hmm. After we done a year of this and they were highly successful, and again, I think I mentioned this on other shows, I went to one of the pro fights, and these kids are carrying around the belts that we gave them. And the kids recognized it, and they won.
Yeah, they won.
And you're looking at them, and they're happy to do that, and happy to have them. And we were a part of that experience early on in their life. Man, that's one of the most amazing feelings for me. And USA Boxing was there and a part of it the whole time. Mm-hmm. We made it feels like friends and family
Yep.
in our events. When you come to the event, when I first came to one of the events, I had mentioned to you, man, I don't see a lot of ticket sales. You're a comforting person. You're really calm. It's like, you'll see the day before. Next day I get here a little early. It was too many people for me to handle. I'm calling everybody. I'm like, man, I've never seen nothing like this. I said, I didn't know it was going to be this many people.
Yeah.
Very calm crowd, very relaxed, and awesome experience.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I was gonna segue to my next question at the grassroots level, and like, what do you see now, and through the different gyms you've been through the different states, and producing the next star in boxing? Do you see these amateurs at the grassroots levels, or do you see like these gyms being able to give platforms for that? What do you think about that?
So that's where they come from, right? Like you had mentioned, Ward, Crawford, Shakur, they all came through USA Boxing. We are the pathway to the Olympics and to the Olympic dreams. And Olympic dreams are the motivator at the grassroots level. So a lot of those boxers are coming into the gyms because they see someone on television or they see us winning gold medals. And they're inspired by that. For instance, after the women were introduced in London in 2012, we saw a huge increase in female boxers' participation. So yeah, the grassroots of America is healthy. We've got an all-time record in number of clubs registered, number of members registered, 42,000 members annually. Wow. So boxing is healthy in America. The stats I like to cite are 26 events every weekend, local events, and over 45,000 matches held in 2025. Wow. So I would say, some people want to say boxing's dead. Boxing is thriving more than ever at that grassroots level. So, but the key is the progression, okay? And in order to have a progression, and you have to have inspiration, you have to have a complete circle from the grassroots to Olympic success. So Andre Ward was our last gold medal. So we're headed towards LA in 28, and our goal at USA Boxing is gold medals. Nothing less is going to be acceptable in Los Angeles. But it's important that inspiration stays there to keep the grassroots healthy, to keep the flow of kids in the gyms, to keep it viable, to keep the coaches healthy, happy, have economic freedom to teach. Right, so that's what's key at the grassroots level, is creating outlets for them. Thank you guys for what you're doing in that endeavor, and thank for what you're doing, because keeping those communities healthy, keeping it boxing friendly, so that the parents feel comfortable sending their kids to the boxing gyms, are what's going to keep us thriving.
Amazing.
So why do you think? Give your take on the drought on the gold medals. Why has it been?
Ooh, how long you got? All right, so Amateur Boxing International Federation, AIBA, was the original international federation. They're one of the signers in the IOC Olympic Charter, and they evolved over the years, and USA has more medals in boxing than any other country. Around the 80s, 90s, leadership changed in AIBA. It became more of a corrupt organization.
Okay,
the IOC chastised them repeatedly for violations that they wouldn't fix. Eventually, this culminated 2 years ago into the creation of World Boxing, which is now the International Federation. AIBA has been expelled. So one could hypothesize that there were years in there. In fact, if you look up the McLaurin report, it cites direct corruption in the judging of international bouts. So I like to call it the lost generation.
Got it.
You've got the Charles Cromwells, the Errol Spences. These are guys. These are guys that are world champs. Gary Russell. These are world champions that succeeded in the pros, succeeded in USA Boxing, but yet couldn't get through preliminaries internationally. So I'm not going to say that what happened, but I think the inference is there. So now with World Boxing taking over, we've had not a revolution, but a improvement in RJing and the way bouts are going to be scored. We've introduced AI technology that's going to help ensure correct decisions. So this is the key. I would hypothesize, I would say that USA Boxing in America, amateur boxing in America has always been healthy. All through those years. We're producing plenty of world champions. Now, has boxing become more diversified worldwide? Absolutely, and that's a great thing. But why didn't those Americans world champions win medals all those years?
Internationally.
Internationally.
Like you said, they go to the first round.
So I think now with world boxing and with assurance that judging will be fair, we'll see a difference. We'll see
He
a difference
took
in
off
LA.
the shiesty mask off of them, and we know who they were. Well, we heard who they were, so
Yeah.
let's move on from this.
So I want to ask a question. For those that don't know, USA Boxing is a nonprofit organization.
Yeah.
Elaborate a little bit on how that operates and what the community and the fans can do to support USA Boxing.
Awesome question. USA Boxing is a national governing body, NGB, that oversees amateur Olympic-style boxing under the umbrella of the USOPC, United States Olympic and Paralympic Committees. We were created by the Amateur Sports Act, commonly known as the Ted Stevens Act, which created NGBs, and then the endowment of Peter Ubroth in the '84 Olympics created our foundation. So we are the governing body for amateur boxing. We're a nonprofit. We annually have a pretty modest budget, about $6.5–7 million, about 13 full-time staff in the gym, and about 13 staff in the office, supporting 42,000 members.
Wow.
So what's beautiful about about USA Boxing is it's divided into local chapters called LBCs, local boxing committees. Each has their own state incorporation, nonprofit status, board of directors, and then they govern boxing, local sanctions in their local areas, get the gyms, advise them, get them up to speed, run the local competitions, and get boxers ready for national competition. The local chapters are run by volunteers. Board of directors are volunteers. Every referee and judge is a volunteer. Not only are they volunteers, they have to pay to register, pay for the background screen. So every single person you see in a white shirt volunteering at an event are doing that because they're getting some personal redemption. They're doing it out of love to give back to the sport. That's the beauty of amateur boxing. That's what drew me to it. That's why I put down the camera and the pen, and I wanted to jump in there and help them improve. It's why I became a referee and judge. But that's the beauty of amateur boxing and USA Boxing, is that's run by volunteers. Our national tournament, 100 volunteers there, referees and judges to run it and ensure we get correct decisions. And then that's our job to feed them and make sure that they're well rested and have a proper schedule. And then we create certain incentives for them, right? Advancements, levels, and then eventually many of them will go to the world boxing level or even Olympic Games level. In Tokyo, the most outstanding referee was Bo Campbell from Denver, from our neck of the woods. And he's a homegrown grassroots talent who's got a gym in Cherry Creek. Wow. So this is the incentive for boxers, for the volunteers, many who were boxers becoming referees and judges. But that's what I want to convey as a nonprofit status. We're not a promoter. We don't make money. We put on national events for the members using their dollars so that they can have an outlet and an event to compete in. And then it's run by people who just love the sport.
You heard that? Dedication. Dedication in the operation. What's some of the challenges that you're having right now, if there's any, especially in this climate and what's going on, not only nationally but internationally, because things change all the time.
Yeah.
And there's always challenges.
So the past decade, 2 decades has been interesting with the evolution of other combat sports and a lot of crossover, which is good for coaches. They get to teach multiple disciplines, but also the safety of the athlete is always our biggest objective, our biggest priority. And there isn't much safety concern across different sports, combat sports. A boxer could compete in an amateur boxing match one day and a Muay Thai match the next. And there isn't a crossover, there isn't a box rec that keeps track of injury data, things like that. So that's one of the biggest challenges. Boxing is a dangerous sport and it needs regulation. It needs good coaches and good officials. And when you don't have that, when that becomes loose, say in sparring or in the gym, that's when tragedies occur. And what we found is a lot of critical incidents we've had in the past couple of years were from crossover athletes, were from undisclosed previous injuries. So there has to be sharing of data with the coach. The boxer-coach relationship is key to this. The coach has to stay abreast. We talked about football players boxing.
Right.
Probably they shouldn't overlap. They shouldn't play a football game
two
one
different
night
things, right?
and box the next day.
Yep.
Right? So this is one of our biggest challenges, is in keeping the athletes safe, but then also keeping viability of crossover athletes. This also relates to unsanctioned events. A lot of times, people will try to go around the sanctioning process and just hold a backyard brawl or a gym war. You've seen these Kimbo Slice culture, right?
Yes, right.
It's become a pathway to the professionals. So we spend a lot of time trying to educate our gyms on proper sanctioning, proper the way to do an event, but also looking for these events that are dangerous, that aren't protecting our athletes, and to advise them away from it. Really, it's the job of the state commissions, but we do spend a lot of time in then keeping those relationships, not just with the local level to their state, but also from the national office to the state. We're a member of the Association of Boxing Commissions. We go every year to talk about these kinds of issues. But what's key to it? It's keeping the athletes safe, keeping the sport healthy, viable, and a great pathway, not just for our communities, but to inspiration for the gold medals.
Well, there's going to be a lot of people that are gathering this information. They want to get a hold of Mr. Mike Campbell himself down at USA Boxing. How do you get a hold of you or anybody that wants to get associated with you in any capacity, whether it's...
Or any of your colleagues.
Yeah.
Yeah, so easy. We're easy to contact either through our social media platforms or directly through our website, usaboxing.org. But what I would say is national office, let us fend for ourselves. Let us go out and find our sponsorships. Let's find our platforms. What I want you to do if you love boxing is go to a local gym. Go to the local gym, support those coaches. Find out the stories of the kids that are in the gym. Maybe they have a show that weekend or coming up. Go support that event. Every single contribution matters. It could be a hotel room at Nationals. It could be a per diem for a boxer. Get involved with the local clubs. They're the ones that are making a difference in neighborhoods and communities. They're the ones that are keeping your city safe, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
But then also, if you really are passionate about it, say you love boxing, right? Everybody's a boxing judge on Saturday night,
Right.
and Sunday morning when we talk about the fight the next day. If you love boxing that much and you think you can make a difference in making sure split decisions go the right way, that boxers are kept safe in the ring, then join your local chapter. Don't jump right in the ring the first day, of course. We got plenty of jobs for you. Loving table, clerking books, helping run weigh-ins, volunteering, staging. There's plenty of things. Every local chapter has a chief officials that will train you, bring you along, and then eventually you could be a level 3 judge at nationals or even an Olympic referee.
It's rewarding. We work with you guys. We work with your team. We enjoy ourselves when we do it. We put on our activation here, and I couldn't see it being any different for anyone else that's doing it. It's been really steady, and we look to doing a whole lot more. But what's more important is the information we're giving out to the fans and giving out to people who want to get involved at this level. This is the starting level, and to me, it's the most rewarding level, in my opinion. What you think, Mario?
I think it's a beautiful thing, and I wanted to elaborate on the most popular movement in boxing, which is women's boxing. We see Jake Paul just signed a big deal with USA, with ESPN.
Amazing.
You got Clarissa Shields at the highest level. Talk a little bit about what's happening in the amateurs when it comes to women's boxing.
So women's boxing and female boxing has always been real important to me. It represents only about 10 to 11% of our membership. That's tragic. But let's talk about amateur boxing a little bit. Amateur women at the elite and youth level have always done 3-minute rounds. Not always, but for some time now, which is a big problem in the professional ranks. It's cited. And then also women's boxing, 3-minute rounds, and then also opportunities for them at nationals. We have just as many female weight classes as we do male weight classes, and it's parity. The IOC insisted on us having 7 Olympic medals for men, 7 Olympic medals for women. So when you do the percentages there, we need a statistician. 10% of our membership has a much higher likelihood of making it to nationals. The road for women is probably 2 or 3 matches at nationals rather than 4 or 5 like it is for men. So there's a greater percentage, greater opportunity for them to make it to high performance in box internationally. So the equality part is very important. We don't have women's boxing, we just have boxing.
Yeah.
I love
Boxing, yeah.
Right. And then also, let me go ahead and mention that, USA Boxing, when we were under AIBA, didn't have a transgender policy. And that was very controversial
Yeah.
in Paris.
Yeah, yeah.
It was.
And the IOC had told all the international federations it's going to be unique to your sport, so your federation has to do it. So federation didn't do anything, so we had to have our own policy, which created quite a bit of fervor there. However, now with world boxing, we've come up with a transgender policy, let's call it a gender policy, that has evolved and is based on medical science, that was just now adopted by the IOC. So it is the best policy.
Wow.
And if you noticed, the boxer from Chinese Taipei that won the gold medal was certified to compete as a female athlete and just won another medal. So the policy works. So I mention this because I do believe that USA Boxing and World Boxing are pioneers in these endeavors. And then let me just mention that we have a Texas Women's Championships that's coming up in Labor Day that I helped found 10 years ago. It's in its 10th year, so about 11 years ago.
Nice.
But that's a beautiful endeavor because women can come from all over the country and get matches. It's harder to match female boxers in the Saturday Smokers. Even at nationals, most of our unopposed are on the female side. So to have a female exclusive event like that in Houston is a great opportunity for them to get matches and to get as many matches in that experience so they're ready for nationals.
Yep.
That's awesome.
We've seen the rise of Amanda Serrano, Michaela Meyer, again, Clarissa Shields, Baumgartner, who just fought. I mean, it's just rising.
Serrano?
Right? There's a lot of movement in that
Sinicia?
area.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
So, yeah, shout out to all the women out there that are lacing them up in the pros, and for those in the amateurs, keep on trucking.
How do we grow that out? I mean, obviously there's a lot of men and young men that want to fight, but on the side with the females, how do we grow that out? Where do you see that coming from? I mean, in your mindset or anyone here, because you all are experts as well in every capacity. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, it's like you mentioned, Jake is doing a great job of creating those opportunities and creating an equal playing field. So that's the key. It's the complete circle.
Yeah.
It's not just local bouts for them, but also national opportunities, world opportunities, professional opportunities. So the health of the sport at the professional level, the health of the female boxing here in Vegas is key to keeping that pipeline, keeping that inspiration. That's why after 2012 we saw a huge increase when, oh wow, I can box. I like to tell the story about Ann Wolf. I interviewed Ann Wolf when I was in Texas, and Ann said she was sitting in a lobby one time and looking at the TV, and Christy Martin was fighting. She said, "Oh wow, women fight. You can get paid to do that." And then the rest is history, right?
Yeah.
She went and found a gym. She said it was cathartic to hit the heavy bag. Felt that release. She became a functioning member of society and now is a great contributor, has a gym, has a boxing academy, obviously legendary pioneer in women's boxing. But that's the key, is to create those opportunities and then they'll fill in. Keep the circle healthy.
She had one of the most amazing knockouts ever in women's boxing.
A few of them.
So and this is a thought process, it's just more from a marketing standpoint. Do you think it would grow out more if you just had all women's matches on a continuous basis? Like, no, it seems like the women's bouts get tucked into the men's fight and the headliner are the men. Do you think it would work better if they just consistently just done women's bouts only, start to finish?
Women's cards?
Women's cards only.
I'm kind of doing that now with the ESPN.
Kind of, but it just always seems like it's not a full
And then
habit.
another question is, do you think the pros should all be 3 minutes?
Yeah.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I do too.
12 rounds, championship fights, 3-minute rounds.
Yeah.
Pay should be commensurate, but that's where the market drives that. But absolutely not is the answer. Female boxers are not female boxers, they're boxers.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Equal playing field, let's make them all the same. 3-minute rounds, 12
agree
round
on
title
that.
fights. And then the depth will come, and then there won't be a difference. Because what's happening with the 2-minute rounds, it's a little bit different style, a little bit different urgency.
Right.
At the end of Shields' 10 2-minute rounds, you're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
We should only be halfway. I feel like I'm not there yet.
Isn't that crazy
I
how
want to see
you
some
would
more
think of it? It's a
boxing.
lot of time carved off, and it's like, I think the whole stamina thing is focused around what your habits are going to be over the length of 3 minutes. So So you're not
MMA
really.
does it, right?
It's kind of weird to me.
same.
Well, let me
Across
ask
the
you.
board. Yeah.
So the gym timer in the gym, what's it set for?
4 minutes.
Right. It's you don't set it at 1 minute for the
3
pee-wees
minutes,
or
yeah,
2
yeah.
minutes for
No,
the
it's 3
girls.
minutes. Yeah, 3 to
It's-
4 minutes, depending on some coaches.
Exactly. So everyone in the gym is
Trained.
equal.
Yeah.
Why is it different in the match?
So who makes that decision, I guess, in the pros? You would know, you're the promoter. How does it get sanctioned to be 3 minutes? Because I know,
That's a good question.
because I know they've done it recently, 3 minutes.
That's because the promoter was pushing it, I believe.
Right.
But I can't remember when the first women's bout. I don't know the first.
So every
women's bout,
state
what year?
commission has their own set of rules,
Yeah, yeah.
right, that they'll follow for non-championship bouts, and so that's the key. A lot of them need to change their legislation or create that leeway,
Yep.
and then it's the demand. It's the
Yep.
demand. The boxers must demand it. The promoters
Yep.
and the matchmakers must want this.
Yeah,
Jake
I'm
Paul
seeing
thing.
it relaxing though. That's cool.
And he's right about women's boxing too, at the level with the full circle. You see Jake Paul. So if you're a little girl or a female boxer, a little boxer, and you see Jake Paul putting on these Amanda Serranos and these people, you're gonna be like, okay, one day I want to be a world champion as a female. But then you see like the Clarissas who went through the amateurs, you're gonna want to, okay, this is the first step I have to do is want to be an Olympic gold amateur female. So it's the full thing. You see it at the highest level, and then now at the grassroots level, you have to build to that. So it's like manifesting. You know what you want, so how are we going to get there? You're going to go through every amateur tournament, every amateur event. And it's the same way as a male, right? It's just all boxers. They all have to have the same thing, Olympic gold, and then maybe you're done with Olympic, you retire or don't, but now you want to be a professional pro world champion. Now this is the next step. So it's like, it's all there. You just have to do everything in between to kind of get there.
I think one of the biggest differences we're seeing now is a lot of those athletes, those pioneers, were crossover. They started in a different sport and they were athletic, and then they saw opportunities in boxing. They didn't walk into a gym at 6, 7, 8 years old like all of our current males do. But now a whole generation has passed since London, since opportunities. And now we're seeing the girls that are coming through the junior, youth, and elite ranks. They did start at 8 years old. So it's becoming more normalized. They are true boxers. They weren't volleyball players that wanted to come to boxing.
Day one.
So that's the biggest difference. And so you had mentioned, let's give a shout out to Lupita Ruiz, Guadalupe Ruiz in California, in Anaheim. This girl is 48-0 in the amateurs.
Wow.
Just won a gold medal in her youth competition internationally. And I've been trying to shout her name from the rooftops. She just walks down her opponents and nobody can handle her pressure. She is a throwback fighter. She is who we want to watch as a boxer, as an exciting. So this is now, and she's coming through the youth division, 17, 18 years old.
Wow.
So it's taken this long for that to evolve to this point. So again, we keep building the circle, keep building it out, and keeping it healthy.
Organically.
Now you mentioned her names. Before we let you go, who are some of the other names on the male side that are doing really well internationally?
Yeah, so
And nationally, I should say.
The team is amazing.
the team right now is doing really well. Last year's team didn't perform too well internationally, and what ended up happening this year is a lot of the youth that came up into the elite division won. 5 youth took elite spots on this team. They've been competing great so far, both in that multi-nation camp earlier this year. They performed at the Stranja tournament, and right now they're in Brazil. So keep an eye out. Everybody's talking about Marcus Luther, Salim Ellis Bey, Joseph Awaniga.
Yeah, Patricio.
Patricia with the Superman punch.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of really good males on this team that are coming up, as well as some superstar performers. Robbie Gonzalez is from here in Vegas.
Vegas boy, yep.
So a lot of veterans on that team as well. But then on the women's side, we have a lot of returnees. We've got Alyssa Mendoza from Boise, who I haven't seen lose an amateur match yet, even though sometimes the decision doesn't go her way.
Yeah.
But team captain, really dedicated, in great shape. Yoselin Perez from Houston is a world silver medalist. So a lot of really good talent on this current team, which is the right time, right? We're nurturing them. We're getting them ready for Los Angeles.
Well, you heard it there. We're running down to the wire here, but we have Michael Campbell, USA Boxing, letting us know all these amazing things that's taking place. Get behind the amateur fight stuff, man. It's amazing. It's an experience. It's a family lifestyle. It's a culture. It's relaxing. Like you said, it's not a job down there. And I didn't live too far from the Olympic Training Center. We're gonna try to see if you will invite us down there.
Heck yeah.
I'd love to come down with our team. I got a quick question. You get out there, you get to see that beauty of Pikes Peak. Have you ever rode to the top of that mountain?
Mm-hmm.
You did?
My dad actually did the hill climb challenge.
Oh, he
the
did?
Marathon up. So we drove up.
Yeah.
Drove to the top to meet him up there. But yeah, it's something else.
That's the highest peak in U.S., right?
It's the highest peak you can drive to. And it
That
has
you
a
can-
parking lot at the top.
At the top.
Wow.
So it's called America's Mountain because it's supposed to be for accessible.
Yeah.
Right. And so they've got a visitor center at the top, which makes excellent donuts.
Yep.
And they've just redone it, rebuilt it. I think about 2 or 3 years ago. But yeah, it's quite an experience to go up there. You feel like you're not on Earth when
Right.
you're up there.
It's because you're
It's
up
like
there.
like a moonscape. And a lot of times you're above the clouds there. But also you can get up there through the Cog Railway, which is the experience. It takes a little longer, but you can see lots of wildlife and amazing.
You afraid of heights, man?
I am afraid of heights.
14,000.
Well, you're the one we're going to take. So we're going to take Mario to the top of Pikes Peak, and that's where we're going to do one of our shows up there. I'm going to kick back and eat the donuts. Brendan's going to do the majority
I'll
of
be
the
jogging
question.
up there.
Yeah, so let's do our thing, man. We appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
again,
Really do.
guys, here at GBN, we're covering everything from the amateurs to Hall of Famers and everything in between. That's what the Global Boxing Network is all about.
People that love boxing, the ones that he's talking about, that volunteer and that want to
Yes.
change it.
It's our job to keep this sport going forever.
We appreciate it. We appreciate you having on the show,
Thank you
man.
guys so much.
Good job,
Thank
man.
you so much.
Thank you.
Always
It's
thank you.
Prophecy Onassis here, and once again, we have to get on to the next part of our day, but we'll see you next time. We had an amazing guest here, Michael Campbell, with USA Boxing, my colleague on the end, Brendan, and nephew. And we got my man,
Yes, sir.
Mario Serrano. It's always a pleasure. Don't forget to friend, like, and follow on all the social platforms. We're on other platforms, but we got some surprises for you coming up in the next coming week. We got some fight tickets and some cool stuff for
kind
the
of stuff.
fans. We would love for you to come to some of the major fights with us. Be my guest. We'll be reaching out, giving you that information.
Yes, sir.
Mario's always ringside, so is Brendan, walking out some of the best fighters in the world. And I'm there always enjoying myself and the nachos and watching all the fun, fair stuff. But once again, Global Boxing Network, nice to have you, fans. We out.